Divas, I fear there's an emergency. Oh God. There's an emergency. I have to film on my phone. Sorry about angles or whatever. There's no time. Yes, my camera batteries are dead. That's not the point. Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. I am in distress, personally and in relation to this video. So I don't know if y'all remember, but around election time, there was some Delulu bird on the TikTok saying, "Yay, we're gonna have president and we're gonna have $10 paperbacks." Well, I am here to say you were right. I was at the Barnes and I was like, look at these $10 paperbacks. I'm gonna insert my proof. Exactly. Those are mass market paperbacks. Now, mass market paperbacks, granted, I have never purchased many in my life, but I have purchased some of them, have historically been the most affordable form of a book. And I feel like, I don't have a timeline or exact price, but I feel like they used to be like $5 to $7. Okay. Now I'm seeing the ones that I saw for $10 for a mass market paperback. I'm shocked they still have some, but I know that they still make them. A lot of like romance, especially historicals, get printed in mass market, like the Westerns, some mysteries. But they're not as common as they used to be. And so I was thinking about this for a while. There was a video by Rebecca Weatherspoon. If I can find it, I'll insert it here.
Book talk, we need to talk. So here's the deal. You guys might not know this, but publishers hang on y'all's every word. Everything Book Talk loves, Barnes & Nobles, other retailers, publishers, they're following suit. So I have an assignment for you guys. Somehow, we need to convince publishers to bring back the mass market paperback format. Most of you are reading what is called the trade format, okay? Trade books are anywhere between, in YA, I think they're like $13, all the way up to like $19, right? If you get if you get like an adult hardcover book, which a lot of books are coming out, these are like $30, okay? Also, they're humongous. Mass market paperbacks are little. They're little. They're also $8. They're $8. And you can fit like 3 of these things in your purse. Every time I go out and I have to like be somewhere for a while, I throw a mass market paperback in my purse, and it's amazing. I can't fit a hardcover in my purse. Also, it's easier to hold in your hands, like much easier to hold in your hands. Here's a little size comparison for you, just so you can see. Okay, look at that. Just look at it. Look at it. Look at it. So I need you guys somehow. Like, we need to do something. What do I need to do to convince you guys, to convince publishers that we need to go back to predominantly this format? Because they're cheaper and smaller and way more convenient to carry around. Let me know how do we do this? Okay, love you, bye.
Where she was talking about mass market paperbacks and like why we need them. And I have been a proponent of saying No, I hate mass market paperbacks because they're so compact, especially if you're reading like a thick fantasy book. But I recognize their importance because the cost of books keeps going up. And now also those, for as long as we have them. I don't know if there's a plan to phase them out, but just in case you didn't catch that was a joke, I was joking about that Dillaboo bird who was like, we're gonna have $10 paperbacks. No, paperbacks be like $18 to $20. Depending, obviously there's a difference in middle grade, young adult, but still, I was at the Barnes looking for books and I'm like, oh, $23, that's a paperback. Oh, okay. $18, that's a paperback. Oh, okay, yeah. The mass market ones, $8 to $10. And that's wild. And this is just one of the many things. One of the many things, right? Because this was brought up again. I saw a TikTok and someone in that person's comments were like, support your library. Well, a lot of us do. And yet, divas, the real reason I'm here today is because of our libraries. So obviously you're on my phone, you're sitting on my MacBook, so I'm going to be reading. Sorry, whatever. I have to film this. For many reasons, I just need to get it out while I'm being productive. But in case you missed it, there is this thing in office, right? And they have elected, promoted, appointed all of these, I guess they're humans, to these positions. And they have been spitting out these executive orders since like day one, which was January 20th. It's only March 17th. So there's been many. The one I'm bringing up here is recent, as of this past Friday, and I am going to read it to you. And I think it just reiterates that we can't just talk about things. Like we have to go out and like try to make things happen and like make our voices heard. And I know that obviously if you've ever watched videos from Ashley, whose channel was Bookish Realm, I think it's now Realm of Comics, she has talked a lot about book banning and all of the different laws they're trying to institute to punish librarians across the country. And it's not just book banning is cute and ooh, this is going to result in sales. It's in that book banning exists. They keep trying to push it further, but now this is like just coming for libraries in general. So anyway, this order says continuing the reduction of the federal bureaucracy by the authority vested in me. This order continues the reduction in the elements of the federal bureaucracy that the president has determined are unnecessary. So it says reducing the scope of the federal bureaucracy, except as provided in subsection B of this section, the non-statutory components and functions of the following governmental entities shall be eliminated to the maximum extent consistent with applicable law, and such entities shall reduce the performance of their statutory functions and associated personnel to the minimum presence and function required by the law. These include the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, the United States Agency for Global Media, the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars at the Smithsonian Institution, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness, the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, and the Minority Business Development Agency. So this says, within 7 days of this order, the head of each governmental entity listed in subsection A of this section shall submit a report to the Director of the Office of Management and Budget confirming full compliance with this order and explaining which components or functions of the government entity, if any, are statutorily required and to what extent. In reviewing budget requests submitted by the governmental entities listed in subsection A of this section, the Director of the Office of Management and Budget or the head of any executive department or agency charged with reviewing grant requests by such entities shall, to the extent consistent with applicable law and except insofar as necessary to effectuate an expected termination, reject funding requests for such governmental entities to the extent they are inconsistent with this order. If you were curious what the Institute of Museum and Library Sciences does, it is the nation's only federal agency for America's libraries. And this is a statement from the American Library Association. I will link it below. Americans have loved and relied on public school and academic libraries for generations. By eliminating the only federal agency dedicated to funding library services, the Trump administration's executive order is cutting off at the knees the most beloved and trusted of American institutions and the staff and services they offer, which include early literacy development and grade level reading programs, summer reading programs for kids, high-speed internet access, employment assistance for job seekers, braille and talking books for people with visual impairments, homework and research resources for students and faculty, veterans, telehealth spaces equipped with technology and staff support, STEM programs, simulation equipment and training for workforce development, small business support for budding entrepreneurs. This says to dismiss some 75 committed workers and mission of an agency that advances opportunity and learning is to dismiss the aspirations and everyday needs of millions of Americans, and those who will feel the loss most keenly live in rural communities. So this says we have 125,000 public school, academic, and special libraries that deserve support, and they only translate to 0.003% of the federal budget that goes into programs and services that are used more than 1.2 billion in-person patron visits every year and more virtual visits. Just think of all of the people using Libby or Hoopla. So, this says to show up for our libraries at library and school meetings, town halls, and everywhere discussions are being made. Because the Institute of Museum and Library Services supports libraries and museums in all 50 states and U.S. territories through grant making, research, policy developments. And that's been discussed on the internet. There are many different libraries are underfunded in general, especially in different states trying to cut funding. I think I saw something. If I find the state exactly, I will put it in here. But it was recently, maybe it was Missouri, that cut the funding for Libby Overdrive.
Missouri Secretary of State Denny Hoskins is pausing funding to the digital library catalog company Overdrive until it can prove that it has as safeguards barring children from accessing inappropriate content. The action comes from Missouri's Senate committee heard a bill last week seeking regulation of digital library catalogs, alleging Overdrive-run app Sora allows minors to access explicit sexual material. Rachel Dunn, spokeswoman for the Secretary of State, said the move was in direct response to the bill and agency investigations involving digital library catalogs. Overdrive and its other apps like Sora and Libby allow library patrons to check out digital copies of books and audiobooks online. The Secretary of State's office, which runs the state library, helps fund access to Overdrive and its applications for a network of schools and libraries called the Missouri Reach and Education Network, or MORENET. The office's $3.1 million appropriation to MORENET, of which $30,000 is directed to Overdrive, funds access to databases and discounts for services like Overdrive. Our priority is protecting Missouri's children while holding taxpayer-funded vendors accountable, Hoskins said in a press release. We expect Overdrive to clarify its policies and demonstrate how it is ensuring appropriate access to content. Overdrive did not respond to a request for comment. This is bullshit. This keeps happening. They keep saying this is about protecting the children, and it's bullshit. It's not about protecting the children. It's about restricting access to everybody. They did say it just paused. I don't know what Overdrive's response is going to be, but this is just one of many things that's going on. And so people may go, well, how does this relate? They're all related. They're trying to, you cut off people's access to knowledge. They can't find out things for themselves. Like, this is all connected. And it was already bad. I'm not saying it was perfect under Biden. It was already bad. There were already bans happening. But it's getting worse. And you should be terrified. You should be pissed off. Because I am.
So it's not only we are trying to ban these titles. Now they want to just restrict access to everything. Because as that said, especially, and it's not just books, it goes beyond that with internet access, the employment help. Hell, libraries even have crafting. I went to a knitting class at my library last month. I know they do. They offer, my library has free seeds, like gardening. But anyway, the people who are going to be most impacted, of course, are the poorest amongst us, and especially people in rural communities. And that's just kind of the agenda of this administration. So it has been scary, and it seems to be getting worse. And I don't know what we can do. You can sign something, or you can call, like there's something on here where you can fill it out to tell Congress your library story, to advocate to keep federal funding. You can call your representatives, but like, has that worked for anything so far? So I just want to make you aware, in case there are local meetings or anything you can show up to, or maybe you know someone in Washington or something, or it's never been fun and games. It's never been funny. It's never been light. It's always been a threat. And I unfortunately don't think most people took it serious enough, especially with the previous election. And now we're all dealing with these consequences of an administration that wants to bankrupt the country, demolish all of these social services that we had in place, which already were struggling on their own, but with, various social services and schools, and now libraries, and we'll just keep going. So if you have any idea or anything you'd like to share on what we can do besides like filling out the thing on the ALO website, or I don't know in this instance, I'm sorry. I feel like almost I'm like, what's the point of the video if you don't have an answer? But I don't know how many of you keep up with the American Library Association, so I just wanted to share that here. And you know what's funny is I was texting Robin and Ray, and I was like, oh, I really want to cry, but I need to film. And Robin said, why not do both? And I did. Look at that. So yeah, share your library story, do it, ALA, call your representatives. I mean, the least we could do is harass them. And I know because when I was calling, you usually you're getting an assistant, some admin person or something. You're never talking to them because, right, they're not going to be on the phone talking to their constituents. I don't know, email, fax, like, what are you there for if not literally? What are you there for if not to listen to the people that you supposedly represent? We have to do something. We will have nothing left. So, thanks for watching. I would say stay all those things, but I don't. I mean, I did put on my sunscreen today, so there's that. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
So just to add that this says the majority of federal library funds are distributed through the Institute of Museum and Library Services to each state through the Library Services and Technology Act. The Innovative Approaches to Literacy grant program from the U.S. Department of Education supports school libraries working to foster reading skills in the most critical early years of a child's development. So I know also there are local funds, like obviously Missouri's thing is not from the federal government. So there's also funding from each state, but there's also grants from the federal government that obviously libraries are already underfunded and they need them. And then what they're trying to do with the Department of Education, that also threatens libraries at schools. So this is not fucking funny.